to know why some people follow through on their goals while others get stuck procrastinating? It all starts with how you plan and motivate yourself before you even begin. And I'll also be answering Stacy's question about how to start setting goals when you are very overwhelmed about even starting the process. Procrastination is putting off tasks even when you know delaying might cause problems. While there are different reasons why different people may procrastinate, it can often happen when tasks feel too big or when motivation is low. Let's talk about motivation, activation, and the locus of control. These are two ideas that really affect how we plan and follow through. Motivation activation is getting yourself excited and ready to take on a task by believing it's important and that you can succeed. Locus of control is where you believe control of your life comes from. If you have an internal locus of control, you believe your choices and actions shape your outcome. If you have an external locus of control, you believe that things happen to you and that things are completely out of your hands. So when we feel like we can't do something, it makes sense why we might procrastinate. If you believe failure is inevitable, like you're somehow predestined to fail, it can feel like a waste of time or even trigger a fear of failure that paralyzes you. This is where your sense of control matters. Believing that your effort can actually change the outcome, what psychologists call having an internal locus of control, helps activate your motivation and makes starting that task feel possible instead of impossible. Here's a quick example. Say you want to declutter your kitchen this weekend. If you think, this place is always messy, I'm never gonna get it done, and even if I do, my kids are just gonna mess it up again. That's an external mindset. But if you say, I can start by cleaning this one drawer today, that's internal, focusing on what you can control. That small shift, that's motivation, activation in action. And the great news is that your mindset isn't fixed. You can train your mind to shift your mindset. And we can use our planners as a tool to help assist with this. One way is using motivation triggers in your planner. These are little reminders of why a task matters. Let's say next to a cleaning task like tidy the house for 30 minutes. You write a calm space for my family. It's the why, the motivation behind why you want to do something and how it's going to make your life or your loved ones' lives better. Or next to a workout, you write, build strength to keep up with my kids. These simple prompts help keep motivation alive. Another powerful tool is a celebratory wins insert in your planner. This can be a place where you write down both your small and your big wins. So essentially, you're just keeping a running log of positive things that are happening in your life so that you are not focused on the negatives. Prompts like, what effort did I put in today? What progress did I make, even if the goal isn't finished yet? What strength did I show? Doing this builds your self-efficacy, your belief that your actions lead to results. And it fuels your motivation to keep going, even when things get tough. At this point, you might be thinking, I already know I procrastinate because I'm overwhelmed and unmotivated. And that's totally normal, and you're not alone. When life feels heavy, even setting a goal can feel like too much. So how do you actually motivate yourself to even get started and shift your thinking when you are very overwhelmed? Motivating yourself to get started, especially when procrastination creeps in, is about small mindset shifts and actions that build momentum. And when you're overwhelmed, it helps to keep things simple and compassionate. Start by asking, what's one thing causing me the most stress right now? Your first goal doesn't have to be huge. It can simply be about easing that stress, even if you don't know exactly how to yet. Write a tiny specific task in your planner. Instead of writing something vague like work on project, jot down read the document or write 5 sentences. Your planner then becomes a place to break the task into the smallest possible steps so it's not so intimidating. Use your planner to reconnect with your why. Dedicate an insert in your planner to write down why this goal matters to you. Maybe it's to feel less anxious to meet a deadline or to show up for someone you love. Visualize the finish line and record it in your planner. You can use an insert in your planner as a reflection space to walk through what the finish line is going to be like. There's something to be said about visualizing yourself achieving your goal and not just a 1-sentence description, but really deep diving into it. What do you feel? What you'll see? What you'll hear? Just really describe it in detail so you feel like you're actually there, to make it as real as possible for you, so that you can then tap into that when you need motivation to keep going and really tap into your why you want to achieve that goal. Create an if-then strategies insert. Use a planner insert to prep for potential setbacks. For example, if I feel overwhelmed, then I'll set a timer for 10 minutes, pick one task, and work on that task until the timer goes off. These are habits that you would have to work on to build. So to prevent yourself from getting overwhelmed by this, I would recommend only writing down one if-then habit that you want to build on your insert at a time. And then once it becomes a habit, then you can add more to your insert. Track small wins on your planner pages. So just like the celebratory wins insert that we discussed earlier, where you're keeping this running log of wins all together on the same sheet, in lieu of that, you could track your small wins on your weekly spread on each day, where you add a little win of the day space and record one thing you accomplished. Use your planner to build routine through repetition. Showing up consistently, even imperfectly, trains your brain that your actions lead to progress. It strengthens your belief that you are in control, and that belief is the foundation for breaking free from procrastination. Make space for the same habit each day, even if it's small. Maybe it's 10 minutes of writing or tidy up desk. When your planner reflects consistent effort, you're building a rhythm that tells your brain, this is what we do now. You can slowly build up your routines over time by adding one by one more tasks to your routine. And then once you feel like you have solidified what you want your routine to be, you can create a routines insert to act as a reference. Now let's discuss something called the forethought phase. And really this is just a fancy term to mean the planning and thinking that is done before a goal is started. It has 2 parts. First, setting your goals and figuring out how you'll reach them, like breaking a big project down into the action steps required to achieve that goal. Second, getting yourself motivated, believing you can do it, and knowing why it matters. Going back into shifting your mindset, I've talked a lot on this channel about cognitive behavioral therapy. There's something called reframing. You can do reframing exercises in your planner in order to make it a habit in your brain, where you take automatic negative thoughts and you then reframe them into a thought that is more in line with reality. There was a study conducted with over 600 French students, and what they found is that when you have clear goals, good plans, and motivation, you're much less likely to procrastinate and to get disorganized. And that makes sense. If we go into something unprepared, we're making it so much harder for ourselves. So of course we're going to procrastinate, because we don't want to go into something that feels overwhelming or overly difficult. We have to give ourselves a fighting chance in the beginning, and then use that momentum that we create to keep going. And of course, having some sort of roadmap that you can follow along the way is going to make the process easier and simpler. And when we make things easier and simpler, we're more likely to follow through on them. For example, say you want to declutter your home. Instead of a vague plan like I'll clean this weekend, you might write down in your planner, clear a hallway closet for 1 hour on Saturday, and then on Sunday you write down the task of dropping off donations after church. When you break down your goals into clear, manageable steps, and then you schedule them in a realistic way, not over planning them into your planner to the point where you get overwhelmed, but realistically scheduling them into your planner, that can help prevent feeling overwhelmed and stuck. Instead of a vague note in your planner like work on project, you would write down on Tuesday, draft the introduction from 7 to 8 p.m. Another powerful strategy can be visually tracking your progress in your planner. It goes way beyond just crossing off or checking off tasks. Consider using a simple progress bar or what percentage you've completed, or even some sort of color-coded tracking system to see how far you've come at a glance. This kind of tracking makes your progress visible and concrete, and that helps you to stay motivated and reduces the chance of procrastination or disorganization. By making your planner specific and your tracking visual, your planner becomes a tool of clear focus and steady momentum. There's also something to be said about recording what your starting point is so that you can then look back on how far you've come. So for example, a lot of people before they start a weight loss journey, they'll write down, they'll take measurements, or they'll write down their starting weight. But you could also describe what your starting point was, what you were like, and then as you progress in your goal, you can then look back and say, oh, I have changed. I'm not that same person anymore. Especially for goals that are a little bit more abstract and are more difficult to track progress with. Motivation activation and having an internal locus of control during the forethought phase, which is, the planning and thinking phase before you start a goal. They can really help you with actually reaching your goals. You don't have to be perfect to make progress. You just have to believe that your actions matter, and you have to show up with purpose and a plan, one small step at a time. You've got this. For more videos on procrastination, watch this video next, and I'll see you next Saturday. Bye.